this is going to be a guide to auto crops on this server and just in general how fast they grow. This will go along with a document paired with the rates, but this is effectively just to prove as a proof of concept with some more information from me explaining. I've effectively determined the auto farm rates on this server by taking this farm and having this exact same farm in terms of the amount of crops and the layout built on the MC Labs server. You can see this in the other 4-hour video where I'm testing it, or the 2-hour video where I'm testing it. And I've ran multiple tests on the rates and the amount of crops I've gotten for this, both with base rates and a 1.25C upgrade. I can tell you that the 1.25C upgrade does seem accurate, and I would assume the higher level ones would be, however I was unable to test that due to the fact that I'm poor. So, continuing on with that. However, I should note, Glowberry appears bugged right now. Presumably Dakota will fix it, but I would not buy Glowberry C upgrades until you see a changes and fix or an update that Dakota has fixed it, because currently, I've tested the 1.25 and the 1.75, you seem to just still get the vanilla rates no matter what, so that's not ideal. But yes, for the other crops, the math does seem accurate to what it says it is. So, effectively, I've figured out that for Cactus, it runs at approximately 5/6 of vanilla speed, which is odd as a number, but I've tested in-game multiple times, and I've got my simulated tests here, and that's just the amount of crops I get that's very similar. I'll have those simulated tests in another video, and I'll have the numbers down in a document, but you'll see they're quite accurate to the same numbers I got here in these test worlds. For cane, pumpkin, and melon, it appears to run at about 1/3 of vanilla speed. Same thing, those numbers were tested with 2-hour tests and 4-hour tests, and I can determine that it's quite accurate unless Dakota is using an odd number, but even if he is, it's going to be accurate enough for a good estimate of what you should be building your farm sizes to. Glowberry appears to run at a very odd number. So, for Glowberry, typically K-vines have about a 1 in 9 chance of producing a Glowvine. Here, it appears to be closer to a 1 in 20. I would have expected it to be a 1 in 18 or something, but a 1 in 18 seems too high, so it seems odd, but those are the numbers I'm getting, and they will be accurate enough unless Dakota changes the auto farms after this video. However, going on with that, that was basic explanation of just how this simulation works, and effectively what I can do is I can run a custom command here to simulate this amount of crops over an hour. And just for clarification, my 60-minute time on the server was 2166 for melon, 2612 for cactus, 1936 for cane, 1083 for pumpkin, and 722 for glowberry. And I would say that's close enough that it can be considered accurate. We can run it again. We got more melon this time, we got a higher amount of cactus, we got a higher amount of cane, but effectively, yes. This is what I would consider an accurate value to what the server is within a reasonable percentage. Just running the test a few more times. That was a lot closer to the amount of melon I got in actual test. I think we've been getting low melon values the last few sprints. But yes, I can say it falls generally in the middle ground of what I'm getting on sprints, and I would call it accurate because of that. So, what I have here is every single type of auto farm. Built in exactly one chunk of width. This dirt goes out a chunk, but so be it. It's only at the bottom anyway. Obviously, you would use a lot less glowstone like this in reality, but it works for our testing, and you could compress these more heavily by doing like side blocks and whatever, but it's basically going to tell us the amount that every crop gets. Although you will need double-sided crops for the most part here. The math is going to work out weird here because having double-sided stems like this does get you more output than a single-sided stem, I believe. I'm not sure how it works with Dakota's thing. It might not matter anymore, but Regardless, you have the amount of crops here, the amount of plants of each type. So effectively what we're going to do is we're going to run a long simulation, and we're going to divide that long simulation later, and we're going to figure out effectively how much per hour that each plant is getting you on average, because we know the amount of plants within a one-chunk farm design, I should say. So to do that, we're going to crop sprint for an hour. And effectively, a one-chunk farm should get you this amount of crops each hour for every hour you're farming it, with no C upgrades. With your C upgrades, simply multiply them by the value. It did seem to be accurate for me, at least at the low level. I haven't tested the 1.75s and above, but I would assume if the 1.25 was accurate, the other ones will be accurate. Other than Glowberry, which is bugged, which should be fixed soon, hopefully. So effectively what I'm going to do is I'm going to run an incredibly long sprint, get the stats on the incredibly long sprint, divide it by the amount of plants in the area, and I'm going to have those numbers in the document. But I just wanted this to be proof that the sprint was ran and that it's accurate. So we're going to run a 20-hour long sprint. This is going to take a long time to elapse. You'll see my cactus is breaking when it's counting. I wasn't quite sure how to accurately get the numbers for cactus when it was actually doing an event that just canceled it, like I'm doing with the other crops. That's kind of why I suspect Dakota's cactus rate is kind of weird. He must have done something weird like slowing it down more, because when I was using the same system I'd use for these crops, where it just simply cancels the break and counts it in the GUI, I was getting extraordinarily high numbers for cactus, so I think he might have just lowered it by a multiplied value or something. I fully don't know what he did, but yeah, that's essentially where we're at. I should note, because you only need crops 2 tall now, you should just build your Glowberry 2 tall, because it used to be more optimal to build them certain heights because of the delay on harvesters, but now there's no delay on harvest, so you might as well just have the extra space for everything. That applies here. I just was kind of lazy with the design, and I figured I'd count the amount of crops later. You can build this in a much better design, especially if you're willing to take up like a chunk and a quarter, although you probably wouldn't want to do that with C upgrades, although I assume the C upgrade applies on the stem, if I wouldn't be mistaken. So you could probably do something weird like putting the dirt outside the chunk if you really wish to. So to clarify what my cactus is doing, not that it matters because it is accurate to the actual server. I have tested the actual server's rates and I'm getting very accurate rates for the actual server. But instead of canceling the growth, it's effectively canceling the drop of the item, which appears to get me more accurate numbers. But I suppose if you just downscaled the value, that would also work, which is what I suspect Dakota may have done. Oh, I didn't run a crop stats on that 1 hour test. I probably should have. Sort of regretting running a 20-hour test. Maybe I should have ran a 10-hour test here, but what can we do? we can... put on some relaxing thoughts in mass producer's brain. Halfway done. Just sitting here. If anyone's actually watching this, then I'm actually insane, so... welcome to the world of insanity. Really, like, just read the document. I don't... This is essentially just to prove that the values are accurate. There's... not too much to say here. I should mention, for sugarcane specifically, it appears to grow quite slow when you first place it. I'm not sure the formula behind that, but effectively the first time you place down the sugarcane, it will take much longer to grow than the second time it grows. Obviously this will apply to these stems as the stem grows, but I'm not sure why it applies to sugarcane. It's an interesting quirk of Minecraft, I suppose. Probably going to run the 1 hour test after this once again, just to display the stats so I can put them in the document. We're almost done here, bro. It appears I've messed up the numbers in the document, didn't I? Oh no, it's just displaying an odd name compared to the appended amount. Okay, I just put it in the wrong order. Alright, so be it. The amount I actually append is going to be the same amounts, but it's in a different order. Oops. Let's just do it.